Well, hello everyone. I'm glad to see that there's many people who have registered for the Bridge Builders Conference again this year. I had such a pleasure of being with you all last year. I couldn't imagine I'd be invited back, but I'm so happy when I got the invitation to come back and speak again this year. One of the best things I do each year is give back to the community, and I think one of those ways is to speak and to talk at different conferences. And the Bridge Builders has been one of the most amazing conferences I've been able to be a part of. And so I just thank Alabama One for putting it on and for those that have been involved in this. And today I'm going to get to talk to you about a subject that doesn't get talked about a lot. And I'm going to talk to you about financial planning and basic budgeting and how to plan for your finances. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. If you didn't come last year, I'm David Cottingham. I'm the Chapter 13 Bankruptcy Trustee for the Northern District of Alabama, Western Division that sits right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'm responsible for 7 counties that surround the county of Tuscaloosa. And what I do as a Chapter 13 Bankruptcy Trustee is I hear all of the Chapter 13 bankruptcy cases and I recommend to the judge confirmation of those plans. And Chapter 13 is a way for debtors who have gotten in trouble financially to try to reorganize their debts, pay back those creditors that they borrowed money from, give them a time to put that over an extended period of time to give them a little extra time to pay back those debts. So I've come across in my last 25 years a lot of people who've been struggling financially. And what I've found is in order to help our community is to try to go into the areas that need it and speak on things about financing, how to budget and how to have a financial plan. And what I found over this 25 years is that most people really don't plan for their finances. And I've been able to go where, by the time I see them in bankruptcy, it's a little too late. I can help them repair and to get restarted and start over. But what I want to do is help people before they ever get in trouble, financial trouble. And the best way to do that is have a good, sound financial plan. So over the last 20 years, what I've been doing is going into high schools, speaking to seniors. When I graduated high school, we had a little class that they taught us for a couple of weeks about how to manage money and how to count money, how to have a bank account and that sort of thing. But really don't talk about that much more in schools. And I know that Alabama One has really partnered with a lot of schools to get that information out there. And that's one thing that I do through the CARE program is it's called Credit Abuse Resistance Education. And I go into schools and I speak about that. So today I want to talk to you about financial planning and budgeting basics and how to get yourself in a posture to thrive financially. And it's possible. No matter where you sit today, it's possible that if you put into practice these things that I'm going to talk to you about today, that you can have a difference in your finances. And that's what we're here to help build bridges between our community partners, our churches, our organizations, and our businesses so that the whole community thrives. And that's what we are here for. And I mentioned churches for a reason. One thing that most people don't realize, if you're religious or you're a believer, you've heard of Jesus Christ, of course. Jesus Christ spoke more about money than he did on heaven and hell. And most people don't realize that. His message was on money because money is important in our society. It has been for quite some time. And managing that money and making that money do for you what it needs to do instead of your money using you or someone else using you is where you need to go. So what I want to do is I want to break down in the few minutes that we have today a financial plan and then a budget that you can keep. And then I want to go over some things that are going to try to get you off that plan. So it's going to be basic. Hey, you've got to have a plan. I'm going to prepare you for it. And then there's going to come things at you that's going to try to get you off that plan. And I want to show those to you today. But basically, let's start with having a financial plan. When I say that, I say it like everybody has one. But the truth is, most of the people don't have a plan for their finances. Right now at this taping, wherever you are watching anywhere today, most people don't plan for their finances. How do I know that? Surveys have been taken since 2000, 2010, and 2020. Of those surveys that were taken in 2000, 2010, and 2020, there's an emerging trend that although we identified it in the year 2000, still in 2020, less people plan for their finances today than they did in 2000. And it was bad in 2000. When the survey came out in 2000, they asked people what they plan for the most. And I could list them from 1 to 100. And in that top 100 things, you would think that you would find the top 10, their finances. But it wasn't. The finances didn't make even the top 20. It didn't even make the top 25. You had to go all the way down to 49th on the list out of 100 before people started talking about planning for their finances. You will never guess what the number one thing that people plan for. Well, maybe you do. Number one thing people plan for is what they're going to do on the weekend or where they're going to go to eat. It's some kind of entertainment for themselves. That's the number one thing for the plan for. Number two is planning for holidays or family get-togethers. Number three was planning for their children's activities. So we plan for a whole lot of stuff. It's not that we're not planners. It's just that we don't plan for our finances. And in order to really, really invest in yourself, in order to make yourself better so that you can make your community better, you have to have a strong financial plan for you and for your family to come. So what I want to give you is a plan for your finances that's going to be simple, that's going to make, you'll be able to start today doing it, and you'll be able to make a difference within a week to 10 days. You'll see a difference in your spending. Because there's a lot of things that we go through every day that try to get us off our plan. At the end of it, we're going to talk about that. You're inundated more today than you've ever been with marketing messages that try to get you off your plan. So that's why it's so important that you got to have a plan for your finances. The first thing you need to do when you start this plan, you need to make it a SMART plan. And I'm going to use the word SMART as an acronym, so it'll help you remember this SMART plan. In making this plan SMART, you have to have SMART goals. And you got to make sure that you can write those goals down and put them somewhere so that you will know what to do. So when you make a financial plan out, just get you one piece of paper, and I like to call it a T-chart. You just make a line across the top and a line down the middle of the paper, and on the left side of that plan, you got to start identifying some things. And the first thing you need to do is to identify the difference between wants and needs. And that's a very hard thing to do in our day and time. There's the difference between what I want and the difference between what I need. All right. Everybody in their life's got wants, and everybody in their life has needs. Understanding and determining the difference sometimes determines whether you're going to have a good financial plan or whether you're going to get off track on your financial plan. First thing is on your needs. Write down and identify what you need. What you need is different than what you want. Here's a good analogy of that. My son, when he was growing up, he would say, "Dad, I need that new PlayStation game." And I'd say, "No, son, you don't need it, you want it." He said, "No, I need it." I said, "No, you don't need it, you want it." He said, "Okay, I want it." I said, "Okay, I want it is different than I need it. I need it is something that you have to have in order to be able to survive from day to day. And you don't have to have that PlayStation game, it's a want." Now there's room in your financial plan for your wants, but they have to come in the right order. So you got to prioritize first. Number one, what are my needs? And you want to write that down on the left side of that T-chart. What are my needs? Well, the needs are your basic needs of life: food, clothing, shelter, and simple things that you need every day to function. So write those down. And what you want to make sure is that everything you do, when you write down your needs, everything you do in your finances, make sure you prioritize your needs above everything else. That is where your money goes first. So meet your needs first. Well, is that what everybody's doing in America today? No, you know the answer to that. That's not what everybody's doing. So if you do like the world's doing and everybody in the world's doing, you're going to have an upside-down financial plan. That's not what folks are doing. What I find out today is people are doing is they get their paycheck and they buy everything they want, and then they worry about trying to meet their needs. And you'll never be able to do that. People are living paycheck to paycheck everywhere you go, and they have a poor financial plan because they've got their wants before their needs. Now there's going to be room for your wants on this list, but you got to meet your needs first. When I see people in bankruptcy, about 70% of the time, it's people that have gotten their plan upside down. They're trying to live on what they want instead of what they need. And what sometimes happens is this: we live in what I call a microwave society. You get out, you establish yourself in your community, and you want what you want, and you want it right now. And what's happened is when young people get out into the world today, they want what their parents worked 35 years to get, and they want it today. And they don't realize that their parents really had a hard, long road of getting where they are. And so we got to make sure we meet our needs first before we ever get to the wants. Now, when you start and realize that, and you start working every day, it means when your money comes into your household, take that money and pay it towards your needs before you ever purchase anything that you want. Now, when you do that, you're going to find out that you'll have money left over for your wants if you meet your needs first. Well, when you do that, what are you going to do with that money that's left over? Well, what you want to do is you want to have a goal. Every one of those wants needs to be a goal for yourself. And as I said earlier, it needs to be a SMART goal. So the S stands for specific. Everything you want in life, you need to identify what that specific goal is and write that down as what your wants are on your right side of your page. It has to be a specific goal. Write it down. It may be many wants, but what you do is you write those goals down on the right side of that page and start identifying what these wants are that you need to be saving your money for after you meet your needs. So not only is it specific, it has to be number 2, the M stands for measurable. It has to be a measurable goal. In other words, don't make this goal that you're going to work toward to be some kind of general goal. It has to be a measurable goal. You need to know how much it's going to take, what it's going to look like, and how much it's going to be able to be used to meet that measurable goal. The A in SMART stands for attainable. It has to be a goal that you can reach. So when I said you could start doing this in the first week to 10 days, I meant it. You start out by getting all your money that comes into your household, knowing what it is, and out of that paycheck, meet your needs. Pay your needs first. What you have left over, you save for your wants. Well, it's got to be a goal that you set that's going to be attainable. Why? Why is that so important? Right here is where most people fail because they set goals that aren't attainable. Let me give you an analogy for that so you know. Every one of you out there has made a New Year's resolution before. And a lot of times what happens is that New Year's resolution is gone and over with by January 4th or 5th or 6th. How many of y'all ever said, I'm going to lose weight? I'm going to lose weight. Well, what happens is you get to that 4th or 5th day and you overeat. And you do something you shouldn't do. And then all of a sudden, well, I ate that. I might as well eat something else. Well, I might as well do something else. Might as well not get up and walk today. Might as well not do that. Why? Because we quit. We quit. We're a society of quitters. We quit because we set goals that aren't attainable. So make sure that when you are working toward this goal, one of the very first things you do when you're setting this want out, make sure it's specific enough. Make sure you've identified it as measurable, how much money you need to get it. But make sure you set a goal that's attainable. So what do you do that first week? You look at all your needs, you know what you got to pay, you pay those, and you say, hey, I got $20 left over this week. Well, then save that $20 that week. Save it. Next week, you say, I'm going to save another $20. Well, you may have $50 left over that week. Save that $20. Use that $20 and keep it back. And so after you've waited a whole week and you've saved $20 that week, and the next week $20, it starts mounting up. So when you get to the end of the month, you got $60 saved up. $20, $40, $60 in 4 weeks you've saved up for this goal to purchase this want that you actually wanted. And what happens is you realize, man, I've set a goal that I can reach. Well, every study that's ever been done, and one I like to point to is the New England Journal of Medicine study. What's medicine got to do with it? Well, they did a study about setting goals. And they said when a person sets a goal they can reach, check it off. And when you check it off, what it does for you physically in your body is reaching a goal releases endorphins in your brain, and it wants to make you do it again. If I save 20, I bet I can save 30. I bet I can save 40. And you try to do and reach those goals. So start in small increments of attainable goals, and I promise you, you'll start to see your wants that you're saving for come to fruition, come to happen. So make that goal attainable. All right, the R stands for relevant. Now here's where many of us get sidetracked on our plan. We purchase things that aren't relevant. You're not sure about that? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever purchased in your lifetime a piece of exercise equipment that you're not using today? Of course you have. Some of you got a piece of exercise equipment that you're using for a hanger. You got clothes hanging on it. Some of it's under a bed. Some of it's dusty. You hadn't seen it in a while. But at that moment when you purchased it, you were going to use it every day of your life. And you thought it was a great purchase, so you purchased it. What it was an irrelevant purchase. It wasn't relevant. What do I mean by that? Well, there are certain things in life for you that may not be relevant for you to purchase today, but you want them so bad. I know so many people that's gotten sidetracked with this, where they buy things that they want today and they realize they don't use it very often. For example, we live here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. What if I told you, would it be relevant for you to save to go out and buy a snowmobile? Well, absolutely not. It would be relevant. You may not use it for every 4 or 5 years to use a snowmobile here in Tuscaloosa. But guess what? In Anchorage, Alaska, it may be a need that you have to get around and go back and forth to work. So it's not the item itself. The relevancy determines in your life where you are at the time you want that item. So there are things in your life today that you need to make sure you identify and understand where you are at this time. And there's certain things that just aren't relevant to you. And when you spend your money against things that are irrelevant, those things will get you off your plan and waste your money. And the final thing is T in the SMART goal, and that this goal you're saving for needs to be time related. What I mean by that is, don't set a goal that's open-ended. Don't say, someday I'm going to start saving money. Someday I'm going to save for that bicycle that I want. Someday I'm going to do this. Because guess what? Uncle Bud taught me a valuable lesson one time. He said, when you say someday, someday never gets there. And what it mean by that is this. I learned it after his death, really. But my Uncle Bud used to say, someday we're going to travel, son. We're going to travel. We're going to go. We're going to go places. And we had all these things we talked about. And guess what happened? My Uncle Bud passed away, and he was a great man with great intentions, but we never went anywhere. We never really traveled anywhere. So what I did was I changed that one thing. I was the same person my Uncle Bud was, but I changed one small thing. I made sure that when I got a family, when I said we were going to travel, I didn't say someday we're going to travel. I made a specific time-related time that, hey, when Jonathan, my son, reaches the age of 7, we're going to go to Disney World. Guess what we did? We went to Disney World. When my daughter gets to a certain age, we're going to go on a cruise. We went on a cruise. We saved for it and went on a cruise. If you just leave it open-ended, folks, you'll never do it. And if you don't believe me, just think about this. Have you ever been trying? I've always had to be on a diet to watch what I eat. Have you ever thought about, say, one day I'm gonna do better? I think I'm gonna wait till next week. And next week, you know where next week is? Next week is always next week. If you say and nail it down, I'm gonna do this, and this is my goal. I'm gonna save $20 a week for 6 weeks. And when I get to the end of that goal, I'm gonna have that money saved. That's the goal that you need to set. Make sure it's time related. So we got specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time related. So that's where you are. You got your plan now. You got your money coming in, and you're budgeting for all of the things that you need. What I would recommend you do when you're budgeting, there are certain things that you need to set aside that I call fixed costs if you're going to have. I would say set aside 25% of your budget for your housing, 20% for your transportation, 14% for your life insurance and pensions that you want to save for, 10% for groceries, 10% for health care, 10% for utilities, and then always set aside some type of entertainment, because you want to make sure that there's something in there for you and your family to feel good about and to do. So that's where I would say your needs were. Once you establish that in your budget, go ahead and start saving your money for your goals and make sure that they're SMART goals. Well, as I started at the beginning, once you get this plan for yourself, once you get a budget set aside and you're ready to make it work, there's going to come things in your life that's going to try to get you off of that plan. And what I want to say is this. You've always heard the old saying, always plan for something, for a rainy day. Well, what I say is plan for the unexpected. After you've met your needs, before you go ahead and set your goal for your wants, make sure you set some kind of fund down for the unexpected to happen. And what I mean by that is a refrigerator goes out. That's a big lot of money to go out and spend, but you say you want to go ahead and get you a new refrigerator, and right now what you'll do sometimes is go out and finance that over a long period of time and waste your money on financing. You need to save for those type purchases that come up in your life to be able to go ahead and purchase those items without financing. So make sure that there's certain things you plan for the unexpected. The next thing you need to understand about things that will get you off your plan is certain unwise use of credit. There are a lot of people that'll give you credit even to get you to be able to buy what you want, but buy it today, and still pay for it for a long extended time. Be careful about that. There's a lot of, the Alabama One Credit Union here has some great programs for people who are trying to restore their credit, trying to do better on their credit, and they do a good job of researching to make sure that people can afford the credit they get. But a lot of institutions out there that what I would call more predatory lenders, they look for people that are in bad situations, or they look for people who want what they want today and give them money to do it at large amounts of interest. Always be careful and count the cost of what that credit is costing you before you go out and try to get it. That cost will get you off your plan. What I mean by that, payday loans, payday lenders, title loans, all these things are made to try to get you what you want today and get you off your plan. That focuses on them and not on you. Remember this, I was talking about Jesus speaking on money more than he did on heaven. One of the proverbs that I often quote is, the borrower is a servant to the lender. You don't want to work for somebody else. You don't want to work for these title loan companies. You want to be able to work for you and your family. So you don't want to see all your money that you make and have this plan to save go down the drain. So be careful about these predatory lenders that are out there. And third and finally, the one thing I think that every one of us fight against every day are these marketing messages that we get. You know, it's easy to see all around us. Everywhere we go today, when we leave, wherever you leave right now, maybe even on your computer if you're watching this, sometime after this you will see on your computer within a few minutes a marketing message that will try to get you to do something. And that's what they're trying to do. The reason I talk about this so much is most people don't realize that advertising, what advertising really is. All advertising is someone who's got a whole lot of money paying somebody else with a whole lot of money to get you to take your money, which you don't have much, out of your pocket and put it in their hands. That's what advertising is. They're trying to influence you to do something for them so that they benefit from it. They try to make you think you're the one that's going to benefit from it. But a lot of the advertising does. For example, I want to give this story about myself. Love to tell this story. I was always tall, played basketball all my life. My favorite basketball player was Michael Jordan. And if you ever watched that series recently on Michael Jordan, great series, loved the guy, loved watching him, loved playing. Well, guess what? When I was coming out of, right in the first year of college, there was a commercial and it said, well, you buy these tennis shoes and you can be like Mike. Ooh, I was excited. I was going to be like Mike. I've wanted to be like him all my life. So I saved my money from everything I could do. And at that time, they were $150 I needed to go buy these. And it was unheard of. It was unheard of to spend that much money on a pair of shoes, but I wanted to be like Mike so much, I went out and got them. So I laced up those shoes. Ooh, I looked good in them too. I was excited to go out and play that game. I was telling all my buddies what I'd done. I'd got this first one to have a pair of original Nike Air Jordan. Man, I wish I still had them today. But guess what? I went out and played that game. And I know it's going to come to shock to all y'all who are leaning into the screen right now, but guess what? I did not play like Michael Jordan. I played like David Cottingham in a pair of $150 shoes. I didn't jump any higher. I didn't shoot any better. I didn't do anything any faster than I did in my $24.99 Converse that I wore before. But that commercial said you can be like Mike. I don't care what kind of shoes I put on. I'm not going to be like Michael Jordan. But guess what? Those type of purchases I call impulse buying. The number one threat to your plan and your financial plan is impulse buying. And everywhere you go, from every marketing message you receive, you will be influenced for impulse buying. I promise you. Think about the last time you walked into a convenience store and picked up a bottle of Coke or a bottle of water. You paid whatever they were going to charge you because they realized you would pay it at that convenience store. You weren't paying for the product. You weren't paying for the water or the Coke. You were paying for the convenience of getting it right there. If you don't believe me, that marketing message is everywhere you go. Walk into a grocery store, walk into Walmart, wherever you go, impulse buying is set up for you to buy things that you wouldn't normally buy and pay more for than what you could really pay. The actual cost of an item, you won't pay for it. The actual, what it costs the people that you won't pay for it. You will pay what they believe you will pay for that item. It's a marketing thing. That's why out at Bryant-Denny Stadium, a Coke costs you $6 when you can buy the same thing for $1 somewhere else. But it's the same Coke. Why? It's the impulse of you buying it there. They got you like in a way. That's when you go to a convenience store and everything you see at the checkout counter, they're influencing you to buy those things. Every time you make those purchases that way, it's a little bit of money going out of your plan. And the final thing I want to show you is this. We are so easily to justify what we're doing and we never realize it. You go in and buy that drink. You buy that little 16-ounce Coke for $1.89 at a convenience store. You swipe it and you pay it and you never. And what do you say? What do you say? It was just $1.89. It was just $1.25. What I'm telling you is, a long time ago, a wise man named Ben Franklin said, pennies make dollars. Every time you spend things impulsively, you're taking money out of your budget that you're saving for those things that you want. And those money adds up. That money adds up. So here's my last tip for you today. And if I get you to understand this, you got to realize it. To defend yourself against impulse buying, you have to identify what you think about money and where that threshold lies for you of what money can do for you. What is it? If I were to line everybody up in this room, from the poorest man in the world to the richest man in the world, along a spectrum, a long line, you would see on one end the most rewarded guy who has the most money in the world. And on the other end, you will see a guy who has nothing in his hands, whatever. He has no money. He doesn't know anything. Everybody along that line, what they think about money is the station they're in. If I gave a $100 bill to the richest man in the world, you know what he would do? He would think about that money one way and he would spend it. He would spend it that way. A $100 bill to him wouldn't be much at all. But if I gave a $100 bill to this man who had nothing, man, he would spend that money in a way that would hold on to it as much as he could because he knew the value of that $100 bill. That's the exact same time every time you walk into a convenience store, you exercise that thought process in your mind as to what that money values to you. What can it do for you? What you think about money and what can it do for you? So what I tell you to do is somewhere on that spectrum, everybody is on that spectrum. You either got more money or you got less money. Identify what your threshold is today and think about when you start thinking about how I'm spending my money. Is it when you're spending $1? Was it you're spending $10? Is it $20 that you start thinking about it? The higher that number is, the more money you're going to waste out of your financial plan. Identify it. It's different for everybody. You know, if I told you it was different for you, mine wouldn't be the same as yours. Identify what it is. So what is your threshold of spending where you start questioning how much something costs? Identify it. If it's high, you're going to waste a lot of money in your plan for impulse buying because you'll spend it and not ever realize that money has just been taken out of your pocket. If it's low, you got to make sure that every time that you go to spend that money, that you're thinking about, is this something that I need? Is this going to impact me saving for my wants? And am I spending this money today that's going to waste it for my future? Well, I hope that everything I've said today has been important for you. And I promise you, if you put into practice everything I've spoken about during this short time we've been together, you will have a good financial plan. And you will have a good arsenal to defend yourself against all those things that are coming your way to get you off your plan. Thanks for joining in today, and I really appreciate the opportunity of helping out.